of any state to be educated the best way. And this actually leads me into another topic, if you don't mind, is equity. When I was doing research around AI and education, a big thing came up about equity and equality, that you might be able to train a model to not include certain things or include certain things. And then on the other side, it's like, if you're having to pay, and you said it earlier, $20 a month, which is not a crazy amount of money, but it's still money that you're paying. How does equity and equality work in with AI at large and with education specifically, if you don't mind?
Well, where I would like to see things go is, I would like schools to partner with AI inference providers to create STEM centers, so that kids, regardless of their background or their economic status, are able to learn how to harness AI. I mean, I'm all about building ladders. Somebody can't get out of a pit unless you put a ladder for them to climb. They still got to climb the ladder, but if they don't even get a ladder, they have no chance.
Right.
So I think I would love to see STEM centers in every single school that are open for students to learn about science, technology, engineering, but I think AI is a huge part of that, because like I've said, I mean, it's going to be a big part of the workforce. And I personally think 3 to 5 years, it's going to be mandatory that how to utilize some AI in most jobs. Like, I work for a federal contractor, and it's very restricted what can be on our network. We're going to be very slow to change due to the security requirements where I'm at. But even then, we do have some AI tools that we can use. They're Microsoft tools, so they're not that good. But no,
Well,
sorry, Bill Gates, but he doesn't know anything about AI.
let me ask you real quick.
Say?
Let me ask you real quick. When it comes to education, one of the things that I fear about, and first and foremost, we're both taxpayers, and you're very knowledgeable in AI. If schools, especially K through 12, start adopting AI, I fear that there's going to be a sneaking increase on a token budget item that is fully funded erroneously by misconception by the taxpayer. Maybe it's not forever. I'm not saying that it would go on forever, but even a 3 to 7, 10-year stint could rack up these companies millions, billions of dollars without anybody knowing. What are your thoughts? Well, and then, sorry, I'm going to stay even further. On the college side, higher education, you have that same token hidden in fees, these sort of things that you're going to be financing by your federally backed education loans. So it's all being subsidized by the taxpayer. I fear that could get out of hand. Have you had any thought about that, and what are your thoughts?
Well, one, I paid my student loans back myself, and I think anybody that borrows to pay for their education should do that with the expectation of paying it back. So while I see that it's borrowed from the taxpayer, I also see that I believe in personal responsibility to pay back what you borrow. I don't know that, like, if they're just going on API token alone, you can run up, like, I think my worst month, I spent $1,100 in tokens through Claude. And that's one of the reasons why I don't use Claude outside of the membership that I paid for that, I can use it through Claude Code, but I cannot use it in my agents. And I have a subscription through OpenAI for that works really well. But yeah, I can see where, I mean, it's really going to come down to, you got to be thrifty. You got to spend within your limits. NVIDIA has a developers program that's free to join. And when you sign up, you get access to about 50 large language models that you can use for free. They will give you APIs to use for these models. And again, like Nemotron, their in-house AI model, they're providing the inference for you for free. And if I had a classroom of kids that had some basic computers, I wouldn't have any issue with them signing up. I mean, why not? It's free through NVIDIA. It ain't going to cost anybody anything. So
I guess,
there are ways to be thrifty.
and I think you said it. It's about being thrifty, but thrifty, and I love the thrift economy right now. But thrifty is about knowledge and understanding. You understand the economy of, in thrift, where we're talking about in the mainstream is clothes. But if you're being thrifty in AI or thrifty in hardware, it's not just even about. We talked about this earlier. The client that I have, when they bought the DGX Spark, it wasn't about being thrifty today. It's about the long-term tokenization, that they didn't want
Right.
to get themselves stuck in a place where monthly overhead was taking over production. They would rather take a smaller amount of time, or a larger amount of time, I should say, or a model that maybe not is cutting edge for less tokenization. And I think this is what I'm worried about as far as the taxpayer goes, is that over the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see this token drift of school districts, taxpayer money getting shifted, because it's like, well, our students need more tokens. And it's like, well, do they really need more tokens, or do we need to switch up our hardware? Hopefully we have very smart people, but I'm just saying, at scale, 50 states, 100,000 school districts, or whatever there are, possibly some leakage there. And I would like to get ahead of that leakage is all I'm saying.
Yeah. So, and this is my jaded view coming out. School districts will figure this out in about 20 or 30 years. Technology teachers will figure it out, probably watching this video, and try to implement using some free APIs. First off, teachers don't get paid enough. They barely make enough to survive, and thrifty is just a way of life for them. And so I can see where it hasn't stopped them from pursuing their passions. To
However,
this point, they
David,
will find a
I
way.
don't I don't want to stop you, but I do, at the sense that I feel like teachers are in the crosshair of, quote unquote, AI is going to replace your job. We don't need you. So I feel like they're putting up their guardrails a little bit, that they don't want to adopt the technology that's going to kill them. Even though I think you and I are on the page, it's like, no, 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 it's going to help you. It's going to help these students if we use it right. But if they're putting up their guardrails to having AI at all, I feel like that's the real issue. It's like, you need some adoption. Like you said, there's thrifty ways, which they're great at, but I don't know if they're thinking along those lines. And that's why I want to have these conversations, because again, you're bringing it all relative to that profession, but it's like, it's not that we are able to go without it. We need to find a way to be able to be symbiotic with this new tool. not technology as far as cyborg, but this new tool, this new hammer.
Right. So I guess I haven't heard of AI replacing teachers. I hope that's not even a conversation, because that would be the epitome of stupidity. You need teachers who can relate to students and teach. You know, an AI cannot. Could you replace a teacher with AI? Yes, you could, and then you would destine that student to fail. That is, I think that's a horrible idea. Um, are you saying that you've seen that in play somewhere?
100%. I think um, one of the fears that is being extrapolated, I'm not saying that there's any implementation, but the fear is the school districts, these large overhead, private equity, whatever, they're trying to replace humans with agentic sort of AI. Teachers are being one of the ones that are saying, like, you could be easily replaced, which you could in theory. But I agree with you. I don't think that in practical nature, just having knowledge shoved to you without that conversion of to understanding, which is hopefully what
Yeah.
we're getting out of our education, um, is going to be done without that human to human connection. But part of the issue also with teachers, especially in K through 12, is over the span of time, we are putting more and more students into their classrooms expecting the same results. So I want to inspire teachers to use this technology to benefit them and their students. I'm not worried about them being replaced, but I feel like that might be the core of what they're feeling, because they see the capabilities and they're like, oh, I don't want to be replaced. I don't want to adopt it. It's like, no, no, no. Be on the front line of this. And not only you will benefit, but your students could benefit as well.
Yeah. I mean, I I think that's the right approach. I hope I never hear of teachers being replaced by AI, because that would be just stupid. I would, like, if I look back on my time in school, and it's been a minute, right? But I can name 5 or 6 teachers that were fantastic, and I can name things that they taught me specifically because they were really good teachers. They had a passion for teaching. They were good with students. Um, I think that people need interaction with people, just like business needs interaction in order to be successful. I think you have to have interaction in education to be successful, unless you're a robot too.
Sure.
And so, a big part of getting an education is the socialization part of just getting along with other people and how to interact. And yeah, if you remove the human element from the classroom, that's I don't see where that's going to prepare anybody to survive in the world.
However, I think the issue that most teachers are fighting against today, what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, is that students are embracing the technology to circumvent the learning process, whatever it may be.
Yeah, we
Yesterday,
call that cheating.
right, right. But yesterday, circumventing was, different than today, because now there's this new tool. So I believe maybe, and I don't want to be too harsh, but it's like the research that I'm doing, it's like, how do we rethink in classroom or education with AI being a conduit for better understanding, not a hindrance to old world ideology?
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend, his wife is a teacher, and she is, I don't know if you want to call it sneaky, but in some writing assignments, she has these long descriptive writing assignments that she gives her students. And in there, you know, if somebody just copies and pastes it into a prompt and then takes what is written and pastes it back, she knows immediately because she's got some Easter eggs hidden in there in white font that you don't even see. And I think that's kind of cool because if she's reading and she sees purple elephants with pink polka dots mentioned, she knows that, oh, okay, you know,
They
they
didn't
just copy
mention.
and pasted this into some AI and here's some AI slop. But
The argument that I heard earlier when I was doing some research was, again, the teachers, these educators, they've gone through formal education. They want to be there to inspire or educate students. They're not trying to catch AI mistakes. It's like my goal is to educate children. And again, if
yeah,
my whole job was to catch AI, cheating, I would be a police officer or something. But that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to educate children.
well, something that I find very disappointing, and I'm sure you've seen this before, is, you know, you ask somebody, and I'm going to say a younger person, like, hey, can you point on the map where this place is? They have no idea. You know, it's like, well, I could Google that. No, I'm not asking you to Google it. What do you know?
Mhm.
But, you know, there's, I mean, that's a big rabbit hole we could go down, but um, learning how to think for yourself and actually engage the brain to process information is very important. That's what education's there for. And I've been sorely disappointed with what I've seen come out of the education system for quite some time when it comes to that, because um, it seems like a lot of things are led with emotion and not thought and research and understanding and having historical context. Um, you know, not to get political, but I'm just going to say that people are easily swayed about their political views many times because they don't have a good sense of what's going on in the world. And it's not just one generation, it's prevalent across many. But i
No,
i
and
had I,
no, keep going. Sorry.
oh, I was going to say I had kind of a funny experience. It wasn't funny at the time, but a funny experience when I got back from being overseas. I had been driving all night. I was taking my mom and my son out of state on a trip, and we stopped at a McDonald's, and there were two guys yelling at two other guys who were yelling back. One thought we should be in Iraq. One thought we shouldn't be in Iraq, and they're almost throwing fists over this debate. And I just want to eat in peace and be left alone, you know.
Mhm.
And at one point, I said, "Mom, I'll be right back." The look on her face was just panic, like, "Oh, please don't do it." And I got up, I walked over there, and I said, "Gentlemen, can I? Um, do you mind if I share my perspective on your conversation?" And they were like, "Well, sure, son. You know, this is in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You know, they probably sit there and debate and fight for the last 40 years. I don't know." And I said, "Well, I'm curious, what three ethnicities of people live in Iraq?" They had no idea. I said, "Who was the leader before Saddam Hussein?" They had no idea. "What two bodies of water run through Iraq?" Again, no idea at all. "What countries border Iraq?" They didn't know that either. I said, "Okay, so let me make sure I understand this correctly. You don't know the politics, the geography, the history, like the people. You know nothing about this place, but you're going to sit here and argue one point of view. You're going to sit here and argue the other point of view. You're going to yell at each other, call each other stupid. And it's my assessment that none of you know anything." So I'm going to go back over there and eat my breakfast, and y'all, if you don't mind, just kind of hold it down. I've been driving all night. I'm not in the best of moods. I just got back from there, and I'd appreciate if I could just eat my egg McMuffin in peace. And I went and sat down at the table, and everybody was quiet.
I
Maybe that
wonder why.
makes me an asshole. I don't know. But again, it's one of those things that it's like people are very quick to form opinions on what they're told, but they don't actually have any real backing as to, there's no context to what they really believe. So it's like, how can you believe that without doing the research and understanding? And again, I think that's unfortunately part of our society today. Funny enough, I got a degree in journalism, and it used to be that the news had to be in by a certain deadline so it could go to press and be in the paper by a certain time in the morning, and if something amazing happened or whatever, they would stop the presses and reset it and go. But now the velocity of the news cycle is, it has to be almost immediate, because not only do you have live video, but now you have reporters that are just giving a quick summary to an AI that's now writing something that goes out on the AP Newswire, and maybe it doesn't fully understand. A lot of times the journalists themselves writing this, they're more concerned about the speed of reporting than the accuracy of the reporting, right? And
Right.
so it's like, with all of this stuff floating around, I think it's led to a society that's going so fast that they've forgotten to just stop and cogitate about something for a moment and think for themselves, not just spit out what they're listening to.
So
And
can I
that,
interrupt right there? Right there.
yeah,
And you talked about it earlier that AI today, or what we're dealing with today, is so much more than Googling, right? It's so much more than the internet of yesterday that we know.
right,
I believe from, let's say, 1995 till 2020, it was very accurate to be in an argument and even Google something, and somebody be like, I don't believe that. Like, I don't care what the internet says. It's not accurate. And you yourself, maybe if you're going to be private, you're going to do that. You're going to research something. Maybe if you don't understand research, you would find something you're like, I don't believe it. But today, with the large language models, and I mean today, not yesterday, but today, yeah, I mean, most of the stuff that you're looking for, if you're having a conversation like this, and we wanted to pause and say, let's look up what what this is saying about X, Y, and Z. We could figure it out right now on AI. Have a conversation. I, I think.
I think you can trust, but you still have to verify, because look, AI is going to think it's right all the time, even when it's wrong.
Sorry, keep going. I'm listening.
No,
No,
I'm just saying that it's wrong a lot of the times. It's
well,
like, so it's one of those things where you have to constantly challenge and show receipts,
mm-hmm,
you know?
mm-hmm. And I
So
think that's what
again,
people don't understand, I guess, is that it's just not one prompt, one answer, right? It's a
right.
conversation, and you're the judge, not the AI. You ultimately are the judge of the output. Don't stop with the conversation until you are happy with the output, or until the conversation is no longer benefiting you, right? It's like, oh, we're not getting anywhere. Let's stop this conversation. Obviously, I
Yeah.
did something wrong with the context or something. But it's up to the user that really gets to decide the output at the end of the day.
Yes, and I think we spoke about this earlier, where business owners need to be very careful to not place financial decisions in the hands of their AI. They need to be the final decision maker. You can use AI to gather information to help you make decisions, but ultimately the decision needs to be made by a human. And I'm by no means the most successful business person on the planet, but I will say that many times in my career, I have made choices that I would not change, where I made a choice that on paper did not make sense money wise, but it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do because I'm a human. It was the right thing to do because in my job, I deal with veterans, and sometimes you just got to hit the pause button and do the right thing for somebody. And even if it costs a little bit more, that's okay, because the human element is something that AI can try to fake it, but it's not going to have compassion like a person will. The decisions I make in my daily life, I have to live with those decisions. My AI, it doesn't regret what it did yesterday. It doesn't. Yeah. So it it doesn't have feelings, and not to get in the feels here, but I have plenty of regrets in my life. I'd like to not add those. Yeah. And so like when I had a situation where I dealt with a veteran who had pancreatic cancer, and we the instruction should have been business wise to let him go back, and they would recycle him, and maybe in 8 months he'd get help. But you and I both understand with pancreatic cancer that 8 months is probably not going to happen. So it's like the human thing to do is see where you can fit them in and get what they need done. And I don't know that AI, maybe you could program it to do that, but it's not going to know when's the time to go out of your way for somebody, if that makes sense.
No, no, and I think what you're saying, just to sum it up a little bit. Hey, I apologize. I got to take this call for 2 minutes. Do you mind pausing just 2 minutes? I apologize.
Yeah, that's fine.
My daughter.
No problem.
This is so, David. Again, I think I really appreciate you coming on and talking. We've had a couple of glitches, but we've worked through it. This is technology at its finest. For educators today, for students today, how do you see the best use of their time with AI? Not necessarily a tool or a thing, but where do they jump in? How do they start using it if they've never touched it before?
I personally would recommend starting with an agent and asking the agent a simple question along the lines of, hey, can you teach me how to use an AI agent? Just starting with that conversation. No, that's literally how I started.
Mhm.
Was you know tell me about what your capabilities are. What can we do here? And what's crazy to me is when I first got kind of heavy into AI, it was motivated by a need to take the writings of my mom. My mom had been working on a book for almost 30 years when she passed, and one of the things she asked me on her deathbed was to finish her book. And I wanted to finish her book, but do it in a way that I preserved her message, her tone, her writing style. And I was I was trying to figure out how am I going to take 750 handwritten pages of notes and make that into a book without injecting my own writing style into her work. And so I landed on the idea of building an AI agent to transcribe all of her handwritten work into basically text files, and then help me organize those text files in an order that makes sense, and then organize that into a book. And then I would simply write the connecting pieces. In this case, the last 2 chapters of her book is written by me, and it's very clear when you're reading it that it's my writing style, not hers. But it was out of out of the goal of trying to accomplish this while trying to preserve everything that she had put all that time into. And through that experience, I learned so much about what is possible, the art of the possible, if you will. And then once I got her book published, I started thinking about, now, wait a minute, I have this great tool. I need to really start learning more. And that actually led me to starting to, when I'm talking with somebody and they're telling me about an issue they're having at work, let's say, I'm already thinking of, oh, okay, I see a way that, I could eliminate that 30 minutes that they're wasting to do this task that they hate doing because it's repetitive and could easily be automated, things like that.
Oh, yes.
And next thing you know, I'm talking with friends of mine that run businesses, and okay, I know I can do that, and all of a sudden it's kind of strange, because it's kind of like having extra powers that people are walking around, they have no idea of what AI is capable of doing when used properly. But, having an hour conversation with somebody, and then 45 minutes later, they have a fully functional website up and running that is maximized for search engine optimization and AI optimize. I don't know that we've ever had a time where that was possible. Now it is.
Well,
And
I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you as far as what the capabilities are. However, I feel strongly that what you're trying to do, what I'm trying to do, we're like web designers in 1995. You're going out to the retail owner or the business owner, and you're like, you need a website, and they're like, a what? And it's like, yeah, you don't need the,
yeah,
like, what is this technology? Like, I just pay somebody else to do that. It's like, no, but now you can take control over another aspect of your business. Technology in 1995 allowed us to take control of the sales side of our business. Today in
right.
2025, 2026, now we get to take control of our operations a little bit more.
Yeah.
Not 100%. We don't want to get rid of the human, but it's very much optimizing your best labor. And I love that. It's, yes, there are people that may not work in the job that they work in, but if you're the best employee, sorry, I think it's
The
my,
ticker's still counting, so I know it's still recording. Anyway, I
yeah,
came up.
I can hear you.
There you
Can
are.
you? Okay, cool. I can
Yeah,
hear
I can
you.
hear
Keep
you
going.
now. Yeah.
Keep it going. That
Oh
was great.
no. So I wasn't. I haven't been going after small businesses and approaching them and cold calling or anything like that. I started helping some of my friends resolve some of the issues, that some of the pain points they have in their business. and then they started telling their friends. Now their friends are calling, and that's honestly where I'm getting the clients that I'm getting currently, because I'm not really actively pursuing, I don't have all day to deal with clients because I have a day job. But the website that I built that's optimized for search, I'm already getting organic search. I've got 3 calls scheduled this week that people just Googled me and found me. Um, or maybe they asked Chat GPT. I guess I'll have to ask them how they found me. But along the way, I came across an idea that for something that has not existed before that I'm aware of, and so I built it. And right now, I'm waiting on the Google Play Store to finish reviewing the app for Android, and once that's cleared, I'll officially launch. But the Apple iOS app is already ready to go. I haven't marketed it yet. Nobody knows about it yet, but um, it's basically instead of like reading a fictional romance story or some type of you know uh, story that maybe has a multiple choice ending or something along those lines, that's been done. This is you're actually speaking with the main character of the story, and you're having a conversation, and that character has a history, has all the pocket litter of a person. Let's say knows where it was born, who his parents are, brothers, sisters, how they lost their wife or what happened to them during their life. It can have all of those conversations, but at the same time, it can talk with somebody at the end of a bad day and just listen and respond with empathy um, and encouragement, and talk to them about their issues. And really, that's where I found that most of my testers have really enjoyed having this. It's called immersive storytelling, but basically, the characters, you can sit there and talk to them about anything that you want to do, and it's it's in a way that it's completely confidential. Nobody's going to know what you're saying, and it's not like they can turn around and gossip about you. So I've found that it's actually provided a very good, I guess, outlet for some folks to kind of vent. And I don't get to see the conversations either because they're encrypted. But um, so far, my testers really like it. So I'm pretty excited about launching that as soon as Google Play finally gets me approved in their Play Store. Um, I
And
don't
so,
I
and
don't want
again,
to go ahead.
that was done. You were using AI to code all of that through the whole situation.
And the entire back end of that is powered by AI. So
And,
it has.
what's your
Go ahead.
model as far as, so when you get an upload, like, is it a freemium model, or what are you looking for? Is it a free model? Is there a pay to play sort of situation?
The first 7 days are set up as free, and then it is a subscription model based on the amount of usage, because I do have token costs that have to be built into into that model. So, but like I said, it's an experiment because I don't know of anybody who's ever done this. I've looked, and there's doesn't seem to be anything like it. So it'll be a hero or a zero, as they say.
Well, again, like you said earlier, this is the place now we get a little bit more opportunity to fail, get to try things. The
Yeah.
cost of entrance to app design, website design, technology business has exponentially decreased with the use or the introduction of AI, especially with these new models. If, and again, I've said this a million times, but I think it goes to say it again, if you know how to use them and if you're using them
Right.
to benefit your overall goal. You could go
Yeah.
off in a million ways the wrong way if you don't know what you're doing.
Yes, for sure. And I would just tell anybody, if there's a service out there that's powered by AI, like, before saying, "Oh, I need that for my business," look at it carefully and say, "Could I do that on my own?"
Yes. Yes. Well,
Yeah.
and I mean, but there's even the argument, and I know we've already been talking, I don't want to go crazy, but there's even the argument that you have Microsoft Word, but then you have Ubuntu, which you said earlier, Linux, Google products, that you have the free Word document, you have free whatever, but we're still buying Microsoft when there is a completely free version, but we are
Like
just so reliant.
LibreOffice.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
LibreOffice. You have a completely free version, multiple free versions. But now
Yep.
today, like you said, not only do we have a free version or a very low cost version to get us to a free version of a software that we want, that we own ourselves. I don't need even, this other stuff that's somebody else's that I'm signing up for. But I feel like not only, it's not necessarily being scared about AI, it's maybe that technological drift of, man, that sounds very complicated and I can't even wrap my head around it. Do you believe that that is where you are fitting in as far as a business? It's like there's just some people that don't want to deal with it. Fine. And they understand that it's easier, but now you can come in and you can make it more cost effective for them because they're not nickel and diming themselves on every SaaS service with a new AI platform that, sends them an email, right? Like now you can just
Yeah.
build your own thing.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite questions to ask somebody is, if you could clone yourself, would you get more done? If the answer is no, then I don't know what you're doing. But if there are a lot of things that you do on a daily basis that could be automated, so you could take that time and allocate it in a wise, a better application of your time. I'm sure that anybody could think of ways that, man, I could really get a whole lot more done. Or maybe you're in a position where there's things at home where you just want to get things out of the way so you can spend more time with your kids and whatever. It's work-life balance, like
100%.
I I'm using my AI agent to filter my emails, and up when I started, I had 270,000 emails in a box that it's like, yeah, I should probably clean that at one point. But
I thought I was bad. It
it's
made me feel better.
yeah,
It made me feel better.
yeah.
Thank you.
It's not a competition, but
No, but
it's
damn.
like that's like that's like standing at the bottom of Mount Everest and saying, "All right, how do I get there?"
Yeah.
And so
No
I
amount of
just said,
filters could dent that. No, no amount of filters.
yeah. So I just told Jennifer, from 2 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the morning, I want you working on cleaning up my inbox. And, you in the morning, I want to see what you would mark as spam. And then over time, I trained her what could be thrown in the trash, essentially. And then the stuff that I need to keep for whatever reason, I've archived or whatever. But um, that actually took a couple of months, but it was gradual, and it was, I broke it down into small pieces, and it wasn't a big deal.
And now it's still
So
continually running still to this day. I'm guessing just not as, you don't need as much because you don't have as many
Right.
emails.
And what's funny is, Hermes agent, it no longer has the ability to use iMessage if you have it running on a Mac. And I have it running on a Mac Mini. And one day I was like, I'd really prefer if there was a way I could text you if I need to, because Telegram's great, but sometimes a text, when there's something urgent, I would like my agent to text me to get my attention when I'm at work, because I don't have my Telegram set up to have audible alarms when I'm at work. And Jennifer says, well, there's no connector currently for iMessage. Would you like me to build one? I said, sure, go for it. And 35 minutes later, I now have an iMessage bridge from the Hermes gateway to the iMessage service that I can send a text and she can send me a text. And so if, let's just say, for instance, what I would consider an urgent email comes through, she's going to see that and text me and say, hey, you need to check your box. This person's reaching out saying X, Y, and Z or whatever. And it's just a good way to get my attention when I'm otherwise busy.
Yeah. No, I love that. Well, David, thank you so much for your time. We've almost been talking for 2 hours, and I could probably talk for another 2 hours about all of this stuff.
Yeah,
I
man.
love it. And hopefully this isn't our last time. I really appreciate all of your insight. I wish you the best of luck. How, if anybody, I know you put your website up there, but if anybody wants to get a hold of you, they want to talk to you about AI, how do they get a hold of you?
David at moghq.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much,
And
David. Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you this.
Yeah.
When are you building your Hermes agent?
Well, now that we just talked about it, like I said, I've used Hermes professionally, but now I need to work on it this week. I'm going to get it done, and I'll clock back in with you, because there's lots now that I'm thinking about that it could do for me, especially when you're talking about connecting from a phone, texting, or that sort of situation. So, yeah, no, this week, David, I'll come back to you this week.
One other thing that I want to share with you real quick, because this is kind of a fun tip that I just kind of discovered haphazardly. I had an old Android tablet and I put it in development mode, and then connected via USB to Jennifer's computer. And basically she can use every app on that Android tablet as a human user.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So
that's fun.
That makes it very interesting.
It does. It does. And again, I think that's the word. I hope that if anybody gets anything out of this podcast, it's that AI can be interesting, and our creativity, your creativity, you pushing off of me pushing off of you pushing off of your LLM. We have the ability to create a lot of really interesting things. They may not all work day one. They may not even work. Like you said, it might be a hero or zero with your app, and that's fine. But the cost to get there was almost negligent. And your LLM doesn't have an ego. So let's get rid of our ego and let's just build some really cool shit. You know what I mean? Like,
have fun.
Let's have fun. Yeah. And I love that that's your attitude, because that's my attitude. And I'm trying with these conversations to take away the fear that so many people I hear have with AI. Every tool, like you said, should have caution about how you use it. But I believe this one, if used properly, can do a lot of good for us individually and as a society, not overlooking, I'm not doom or gloom. That's not what this show's about. But I think what we're talking about is the most positive ways to implement it. And I really do see that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David. And again, I can't wait to talk to you again. I'll be working on my Hermes agent. I'll talk back in with you and let you know how it goes.
I'll have Jennifer send you some tips and instructions.
Please, no, please, and then I'll share that as well with